Oh, you're there. Okay. Hey, listen, this might seem a bit like preaching, I'm not sure. But when I was a kid growing up, my mom was always full of little cliches and all that sort of thing. Things like loose lips sink ships and you should never air your dirty laundry. And um probably one of the biggest things that she would say is never ever bite the hand that feeds. Never bite the hand that feeds. And I can remember pretty much, I mean, my whole life I remember my mom never talked bad about the places that she worked. She never spoke poorly. She may not have enjoyed her job, but her job she might complain about different things she had to do. She didn't complain a whole lot, but she might not be over enthusiastic about the things that she had to do. She wasn't, she didn't bring a lot of it home with her. She didn't. Home was home and work was work. So, she would discuss things with dad about people and stuff like that. But she was usually pretty good about not bad mouthing people. I mean, she didn't really talk trash about people she worked with. But most importantly is I think today that I want to just say is that never bite the hand that feeds. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, buying and reselling groups and that sort of thing, and consistently in all of the groups, I hear constantly about how terrible eBay is, about how terrible eBay does eBay's this terrible thing and does this and they're a monster and oh they rip people off and oh they always have the buyer's back and oh blah 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 blah. I hear this all the time. All the time people are bad mouthing the place. Listen, they're feeding you. It's the eBay website that is feeding you. You're doing all the work. I got it. Got it. I understand. You're doing all the work. But they're feeding you. They're paying your bills. They're giving you your vacation money. The more you trash talk, okay, you're right. Okay, just say you're right, and they ripped you off, and or whatever, they cheated you or whatever. However that works out, okay? You're right, and you feel slighted, and so you go ahead and you start nibbling on the fingers of the hand that feeds, okay? And you decide that that you're right, and eBay's this terrible place, and you make sure you convince a bunch of people of that. You go right ahead and convince a bunch of people of that. You know what you're going to do? You're going to drive people off of the platform with your whining and your complaining. You're going to drive sellers away because they're all going to think the place is terrible. If you drive sellers away, it's an old act. It goes way back. Anybody that runs a flea market knows how it works. You don't have sellers if you don't have buyers. And you don't have sellers. You don't have buyers if you don't have sellers. If you do not have a vibrant community in eBay, if you do not have a large group of people, it's a giant flea market, guys. I hate to say it, but that's what it is. It's this giant flea market. But you don't have to stand out in the hot freaking summer sun all having that sun beat down on your head, burning you to a crisp, and then all of a sudden in the middle of nowhere comes a thunderstorm, and all your product is soaking wet. Everything is trash. Just a windstorm comes through and rips your tables and throws your tables around and throws your stuff all over the place and rips your tent off and all this stuff. You don't have to go out in the cold. You don't have to go out in the rain. You don't have to drive 300 miles to get to this flea market. You don't have to do anything. You're sitting in your house, being on this in the world's giant. It's not a yard sale. It's a giant flea market, and you're bad mouthing it. You're trash talking it. And all you got to do is sit in front of your computer and type stuff in and sell stuff to people all over the world, and you're going to complain because they ripped you off for $10 or $15 or $20 or $300. I don't care what the number is. How much money have you made off of them this year and last year and the year before and the year before from the site? You don't bite the hand that feeds. Listen, don't trash talk the thing. There's, as far as I know, there's only one Facebook group that does not allow that kind of trash. Maybe some of the other ones do too. I'm not sure, but I can only think of one that I know of. I think it's the Drifting Board. I think that's what it is. They don't allow you to do any of that. You don't trash talk eBay. You don't trash talk Amazon. You don't trash talk PayPal. You don't trash talk the post office. You don't trash talk anybody. You just don't trash talk people. And why? Because you don't bite the hand that feeds. They're putting food on your table. Every time you decide that you want to say something, I know this one guy, he sold a massive amount of books. Well, I don't know him personally, just he's in the groups and he's got YouTube and all that other stuff like that. And he's this massive bookseller. And of course, you may be familiar with this. This video is from January 2017. So there was recently a change in Amazon, and it's going to cost booksellers a huge amount of money because a lot of booksellers are long tail sellers. It's going to cost them a huge amount of money in fees, this change that Amazon's doing. I don't know why Amazon's doing it. I don't care why Amazon's doing it. It's their sandbox. It's their platform. They get to do what they want to do there. As a seller, if I can't survive on that platform, I need to move on. Okay? So this guy was a big Amazon seller. Now all of a sudden I'm seeing him coming back into the eBay groups talking about the eBay, but he's bad mouthing eBay. But he's coming back to eBay for a reason, because Amazon killed him. Amazon probably destroyed his business. I don't know. He hasn't said, but I'm sure they've hurt him a lot. They've hurt his business a lot because of the expense of having to sell books on there. And now he comes to eBay and he starts going in these groups and he's trash talking eBay. So, oh, they're always favoring the buyer. They're always favoring the buyer. They're always favoring the buyer. That's not true. They don't always favor the buyer. They favor the buyer when the buyer needs to be favored. And maybe sometimes the seller just doesn't do things the way the seller is supposed to. It could happen. I've not had that experience in years with that going on, and that was as a buyer, and I got ripped off hard. So I know that they don't always favor the buyer. I know that for a fact. Personally, I know that for a fact. But that was many years ago. That was probably 2000 or 2001 or 2002 or somewhere in there, long time ago. But I'm over it. I don't care. I don't care about that because my mortgage is paid, my light bills are paid, everything's paid. My utilities are paid, my sewer's paid. There's food on the table. Why? Because of eBay. Because the platform exists there. When it's the hand that feeds me, and you're talking trash about it. There's a lot of people that I see it all the time. There's people that sell $100,000 worth of product or $300,000 worth of product who trash talk eBay. And they sell $300,000 worth of product on eBay. What are you doing? Go ahead and bite the hand that feeds. But all you're going to do is drive other sellers off and ruin the community because those sellers aren't going to be there anymore. That's what eBay did to themselves years ago when they had their new lowest fees. And, I don't care how you frame it. When you rip people off, and you just be honest, you're not ripping them off. When you decide that your platform or your service or whatever it is deserves to be paid more money for what you give your customers that. You tell them that, and and if it's going to cost them money and they want to go elsewhere, just be honest about it. Don't. eBay should have known at that point that the person that was feeding them was the buyers and the sellers. And without the sellers, you don't have the buyers. Without the buyers, you don't have the sellers. But they should have known at that back then when they did that a lot of sellers were going to leave. They should have been completely aware of that, and that's when Amazon overtook them. Because a lot of sellers left the platform, they went to other platforms, or they quit. At the time, I quit, but other people were just starting up. So at the same time, other people were just getting rolling on it. So, it's funny how that works. But maybe what I should have done is when it happened is I should have changed my business model. I shouldn't have just quit. But didn't have the foresight, the ability to understand that I needed to change with the system. Not blame the system, but change with it and do something different with it. That's what I should have done. But that's what they needed to do. So, the platform lost out because a lot of people left. Good sellers and bad sellers both left. They lost a lot of power sellers when they did that. Okay? What happened is the community was damaged by it. The community, the buyers left because the people they were buying from that were offering this stuff were now offering it elsewhere. So buyers went elsewhere. One thing anybody will tell you is when a customer comes into the store, or if you're selling cars, if they come onto the lot, you need to make sure they leave that lot with your car, with your product. You don't want them coming to your store and going to somebody else's, because when they go to somebody else's, they don't want to come back. If your price isn't right, if your customer service isn't right, they're not going to tell you. They're just going to go somewhere else. And that's what happened online. That's what happened to eBay. And I think that's why they've really needed to. I hate them. I know a lot of people say that eBay is buyer centric, but they're not. They're seller centric. If you're a crappy seller and you deserve it, you probably have had some bad experiences with eBay not doing what you think they should do. Well, they're not going to do what you think they should do. They're going to do what's best for the platform. They're going to do what's best for everybody involved. And many times they've given sellers their money back and the buyers their money back, and the seller didn't really deserve their money back, honestly. But the same thing goes with buyers too. Sometimes they didn't either. But eBay's main thing is they're trying to create a platform that will keep people there. They're trying to create a platform that will be vibrant in the seller community and vibrant in the in the buyer community that's coming there. They don't need people going around trash talking eBay. Why do you think as a seller, if you give poor customer service, your DSRs get dinged and and or and whatever, and or you get your account suspended or whatever it is, and they don't want you on the platform. Why don't they want you on the platform? It doesn't matter how much you sell if you're providing a crappy service. You worry about negative feedback. Don't bite the hand that feeds. If you get negative feedback, you probably deserve it. Learn from it and move forward. Maybe you don't deserve it. Okay, it's possible. But learn from that negative feedback and move forward. Move forward from that and do something different. If your box was dirty and they complained about it, don't use dirty boxes. If your item didn't present well when they got it, when they opened the box and it's all banged around inside the box, or there's not enough cushion and your item's broken or whatever it is, you know what it is that you did. You know what you did wrong. Fix it or get off the platform, because you're damaging, you're hurting it for you, you're hurting it for me, and you're hurting it for everybody else by not providing the best service possible that you can provide. You're biting the hand that feeds. Stop biting the hand that feeds. You know, let's be honest, as a seller, you and I both know that the buyer is the one who put money in your pocket. And if the buyer comes in and you give him crappy service, he may not ever come back. And that's on you, because, well, in all honesty, the buyer might get a refund from you. 2 years from now, he might come in and he might buy $300 worth of stuff from you and not even know that he's bought from you before. Nobody keeps track of who they bought from and who they sold to. Nobody keeps track of that, you know? So, I mean, I've had people actually tell me that, they'll buy something from me and then they'll be like, I think I might have got something from you a long time ago. They don't remember, and I've changed my eBay name repeatedly over the years. So unless they actually looked at the history of my username, they probably wouldn't even know. They wouldn't even know that they'd purchased from me before. So you're only going to hurt yourself in the future. I told the story. I used to have these yard sales, and this lady would come to my yard sales, and she would buy stuff at my yard sale. Well, it was like a flea market. It was a small flea market. We just called them yard sales because, well, you do that. But she would come in and she would buy stuff every week. She bought stuff, but she would also steal. The only thing is that I always made more money off of her than what she stole from me. So it worked out for me. You know what I mean? I was glad to see her come in because, she was generally a nice person. I think she was just a kleptomaniac or something. She just had a problem. You know what I mean? And look, if somebody's going to put a $20 bill in my hand, and then they're going to steal another $2 item on it for what I was paying for stuff, I don't care. Now if Now, if I'm selling something in a store or something like that, where my margins are different, that might have a bigger impact. It depends. But this lady, I was making money off of her. Don't bite the hand that feeds. Don't bite the hand that feeds. I could have said something. I say, hey, you're stealing that. I could have said something to her, and then she'd be embarrassed, and then she would never come back, and then that money she was putting in my hand every week wouldn't be coming in anymore, and she's just getting a discount, basically. On the other, in a sense, she's just getting a large, if she would have come in and picked up this item and this item and this item and said, what do you do for it? I would have gave her a deal that probably would have been the same as her stealing one of the items. So just let her steal. I don't give her a deal any other time, but but so don't bite the hand that feeds. Stop trash talking eBay. Stop trash talking PayPal. Stop trash talking Amazon. Or actually I don't ever hear anybody trash talk Etsy. I don't do anything on Etsy, so I'm not really familiar with that. But stop it. Just stop biting the hand that feeds, man. Just just quit it. Okay. I guess this qualifies as a rant. It's just eBay life. It's just this. It's just how it is. So anyway, don't bite the hand that feeds. Don't bite the hand that feeds. Don't bite the hand that feeds. Okay, I'm done. Have a good day. Bye.